Hello, it is Clare here, and I am an interior designer and educator and the owner of the Little Design Corner. And if you have not met me before, my business is all about helping designers become more professional, make more money in their business, grow and scale their businesses. And we basically talk about all of that stuff that you didn't learn in design school to do with marketing, growing, starting a business, and all of those sorts of things. So if you are new here, welcome. Please consider subscribing to the channel. I share tips and videos all the time about how to grow your business. So that's what we talk about. Now today, what we want to talk about is creating connection and content on your social media that actually creates clients who want to buy from you. So I see so many designers who don't actually put out the right sorts of content on their social media platforms that are going to attract people to want to purchase from them, so to become paying clients. And the reason that people do that is that they forget what they are trying to use social media for, which is to do a whole bunch of things. And primarily what you want to be doing with your social media content is to actually build up that know, like, and trust factor with your audience, that authority that you are an expert, that you're someone that they like, that they sort of respond to, that they like your values, that they trust that you know what you're talking about. That is everything that you want to be conveying in your content with your social media. And instead, what I see a lot of designers doing is actually just talking about themselves, talking about their services, talking about, pretty pictures that they like and all of that sort of thing. And that's sort of okay, but it's not going to do the job in terms of convincing and sort of getting people to want to purchase from you. So instead, what I want to do is go through 3 different types of content that I like to create on my own social media platforms that help people to build that know, like, and trust factor with me, and also help to build me as an authority in my space. Now, for me, that's an authority in helping you guys to build your design businesses. But when I was working as an interior designer, I would do the same sorts of content types, but I would focus them at my design clients. So it's exactly the same principle no matter what kind of business that you have. But there are 3 different specific types of content that you want to be creating that will really, really help people to connect with you and to engage with your content a lot better. Okay, so let's go through what those 3 types of content are. And what I want you to be thinking about is perhaps thinking about all the different sorts of social media posts that you might have been putting out recently, whether that's on Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn or TikTok or wherever you're posting. And you should be posting all over the place, by the way, because that is where you're going to get seen by all the different people who are in your market and build your authority across a whole bunch of different platforms, which is really important because you never want to put all your eggs into one basket, but that's a whole other video. So basically, I want you to be thinking about all of the different content that you've been putting out and thinking, are you doing a good balance of these 3 different types of content? Or perhaps you are focusing on one particular type of content and ignoring or not really doing enough of the other 2 different types. So have a think about that as we go through this video and just sort of decide whether you think you might need to add in some of these other types of content to sort of balance out the types of posts that you're putting out so that you can be creating that know, like, and trust factor and building your authority, because all of these different types of content piece together a bit like a puzzle to build up that big picture of you as a person that they would like to work with eventually. Okay, so the first type of content that we're going to talk about is relationship building content. And basically what your relationship posts are going to be about are really stories about you and stories about that are going to build connections. So these are things that are perhaps things about getting to know you better. This is where the know and like sort of factor comes in. So you want people to sort of get to know your values, get to know a bit about who you are, what you believe in, the types of work that you do, perhaps stories about when you were starting your business, perhaps stories of times you've worked with clients where particular problems have happened or great things have happened or whatever it might be. So they're generally sort of story-based. And this, in my experience, tends to be the type of post that people aren't terribly good at because most people don't like having their images up on their own social media. They don't really like talking about themselves. But what you will find is that if you start to put out more and more content like this, you actually will find that these posts are the ones that get you the most engagement. So you will get the most comments, you'll get the most likes, you'll get the most feedback, you'll get the most people reaching out to you in the DMs, because what will happen is if you share a story about, being left-handed, for example, which is one of my sort of connection pieces, what you will find, and it happens to me every time I talk about being left-handed, is that people will message me and they'll be like, oh, I'm left-handed too. Or, they'll write a comment in the post about, oh, I'm left-handed too. Or I hold my pencil in a funny way because I'm left-handed as well. And so you want to be building that connection, because yes, that's not immediately going to mean that a client's going to work with you as a designer, but they've got that connection now with you because they're connected by the fact that you're both left-handed. So there's all different things that you can be connected to your audience on. Like for me, I've got a whole range of things that are all about me as a person that I share all the time. So it's to do with my journey in creating my own sort of online business and my journey of leaving the corporate world. I'm a mum of 3 boys, so I've got the whole, boy mum thing that I connect with people on. I've got my left-handedness. I've got my love of interior design, as you can see, obviously, in the background. I've got a profoundly disabled son. So whenever I share things about my son, obviously that's a point of contact with other parents of people who have, or carers of disabled people. So there's all range of things, and you're not using them to be sleazy or gross or anything. Like, you're just using them because it's part of your story. It's a part of who you are. So find those things, perhaps jot down, 10 or 20 things about you that are of interest. Fitness is another one of mine, because I do a lot of exercise and everyone sort of knows that I'm out and about walking every day and all those sorts of things. So find your 10 or 20 things that would be a point of interest that helps you stand apart, that makes you memorable. They don't have to be anything particularly special, but they can be things that you start to create stories about and share with people, in these relationship posts. So you want to have, like, if you have 9 different social media posts going out all about the place, what you want to do is to be just thinking about, of those 9, you want 3, 3, and 3 of each of these. So you want to have at least in the next 9 pieces of social media content, 3 relationship building pieces. So 3 story-based pieces, 3 things about you, perhaps a picture about you, perhaps a story about, something that's happened in your business that's of relevance to your niche. So just keep that in mind as well. So that is the first piece of type of content. Okay, our second type of content is your authority building content. So this is probably the stuff that you guys are better at. Generally, what I see is people aren't too bad at this sort of thing. This is the things like your how-tos, your 5 tips for this, or your 10, tips for designing a kitchen, or these are sorts of the posts where you're providing the value, where you're building your authority, where you're showing that you know what you're talking about. It might be tips about how to furnish your house, or style your house, or style your bedroom, or all those sorts of things. So these are your authority building content. Generally, this is pretty easy to put together. This is where you are already an expert in your niche. Just put these ones out there. But again, you want to be thinking that in the next 9 pieces of social media that you put out, 3 of these need to be your authority building content. So I probably don't need to say too much about that. They're all pretty straightforward. And you just basically need to create a whole list of topics that you are an authority in. So if you are a kitchen designer, that would be a whole bunch of things to do with space planning kitchens and finishes for kitchens, and how to choose handles for kitchens, and different door profiles for kitchens, and the mistakes you see people make when they're designing their kitchens, all that sort of stuff. So think about your particular niche. Who are you trying to attract as a client? And then perhaps write down, 10 or 20 topic ideas for your authority building content. So that's the second piece of content. And then your third piece of content is your proof content. So basically what this is the content that builds social proof and really shows that you know what you're talking about. So these are things like your before and after pictures of any projects that you've done. It might be testimonials from clients that you've worked with. It could be information about the programs and services that you offer. It's the content where you're allowed to show off a little bit. It could be case studies about clients you've worked with and how that went. So, you could get a client, interview a client and talk to them about how the experience was of working with you. It's just basically all of that stuff that just shows that you know what you're talking about. And it also provides that social proof so that people know that it's not only you who's saying that you're good at what you are doing, you've actually got proof to back back you up. So again, not in the next 9 pieces of content, you want to be having about 3 that have this proof content. So it doesn't all need to be testimonials. In fact, it shouldn't be, but you can throw in a case study here and a before and after picture here. And what I generally find is that this is the stuff that you guys tend to over deliver on. So there's way too much sort of proof content and not enough of that authority building content and relationship building content. So make sure you balance it out. Don't talk about yourself over and over and over on social media, because frankly, what you'll find is this sort of proof content, you are not going to get very much engagement on this. In my experience, this is not the sort of content that people jump up and down about and, you know, comment on or reach out to you in the DMs. But what the social proof does do is it actually builds that sort of picture in your reader's mind that you do know what you're talking about. So it is actually converting content. So whereas the others are like, there'll be the things that you will get a lot of engagement on. So you'll get a lot of engagement on your relationship posts because you're building that connection. You'll get a lot of engagement on your authority posts. You'll generally have people sharing that. You'll have people saving that. You'll have people asking questions potentially about that authority building content. But with your proof content, you're not going to find very many likes and you're not going to find very many comments and things on that sort of content. But it's super important because that is generally the content where a client will go, yep, this is the person who I want to work with, because I can see now that they know exactly what they're talking about. And actually, I also want that kitchen that I see in that before and after. So all 3, as you can see, build up a super important big picture of you, and they build up that authority and, of course, build up that know, like, and trust factor that we all know is so important when you are marketing your business. So that's basically it for today. I hope that has given you some ideas. So basically, let's just recap that we've got the 3 different types of content. And the reason why this is important is because you want to be creating a balance of different types of content on your social media and not just biasing one particular type of content, because having the big picture, having all of those different pieces piecing together builds up that holistic picture of you as a person who they would like to work with. So we have number 1, our relationship building content. This is the content where you're going to create connections with stories. You're going to show your face. You're going to get on video. You're going to take pictures of yourself. You're going to do all that stuff that I know scares you people, but you have to do it if you want to build your business. Number 2 is your authority building content. I know you guys are good at that. It's your tips and tricks, your how-tos, all of that sort of thing. So lots of that content coming out as well. And then number 3 is your social proof content. So all the befores and afters, case studies of client projects, all of that sort of stuff that shows that you know what you're talking about. You can talk about your services, you can talk about your products, all of those sorts of things in that sort of content. So balance out your content. Make sure that you share a good mix and plan it out in advance so that you know you've got that really good mix across your different posts. And as a general rule, you want to think that for every 9 posts, you want 3, 3, and 3 of these. So it's just a general rule to stick to. If you end up having 4, 5, and 2 can't add up. No, that's not going to work. But anyway, you know what I mean. If you end up having more and less or whatever, that's fine. But if you just generally have that ticking over in your mind as a general rule, you'll find that you'll have a much better balance of content overall. So I hope that's helpful and that you have picked up some tips about how to improve your social media content and attract more design clients. And if you have any interest in growing your business and making more money and other ways that we can help you, then please do reach out. And if you can just message me over on Instagram at The Little Design Corner, you will be able to follow me over there and just reach out in the DMs, and I would be more than happy to have a chat about our coaching program, our online courses, our online resources for designers, and all of the other things that we have to offer. So please jump over to Instagram, follow me there, reach over in the DMs and message me, and we can have a chat about how we could work together. I hope that's been helpful, and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye for now.